Hello, hi, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. This is Sal, your regional coach for Europe and Asia for Vino and Vision. And I want to come to your space today to tell you about my story, about grief, accountability, connection, and why I joined your first 100K bootcamp from Vino and Vision. On the 17th of May 2022, I received a good and a bad news. The bad news was that I lost someone very dear to me, someone very close to my heart. And the good news was that I won a spot. I won a spot to join your first 100K bootcamp from Vino and Vision. So, how did I manage to mix the two? An opportunity for a lifetime and grief mixed together. I didn't want to let go of both of them or neither of them. I knew I had to grieve and I knew I had to take this opportunity to join this year for 100K bootcamp. It wasn't an easy journey and it's still not an easy journey. But because I owe it to myself and my future and holding myself accountable. We live in a society and a community where nobody ever prepares themselves for losing someone they love so much. Nobody is prepared for that. If you can imagine the devastation, the pain, the loss that I have had to go through, but still grabbing my hands onto the first 100K bootcamp challenge because I won a spot. I applied for it and I won it on the day that my grief started. And I wasn't letting go, and I never let go, and I'm still holding on. And I got to learn that even people around you, close to you, your loved ones, everybody else, nobody gets prepared for grieving. And nobody, at least many, do not know how to deal with it or have a conversation about grief, because it's not something that we thought, it's something that we scared about talking, it's something that we run away. And the usual feelings and usual conversations is more like, it's gonna be okay, it's God's will. Because people are even scared about talking about grief. But then also you realize that nothing much needs to be said as well sometimes. Just being there for the person. Because nobody can stop you from going through everybody grief differently. Nobody can stop you from crying or getting into yourself. And it has to be done. And that's normal. Everybody does this different thing. Imagine, I found this funny, really. This one around, I think it's just somebody who doesn't either have a clue or cannot even make a conversation about grief, because people, like I said, people are never ready to talk about grief. Because then you will be vulnerable. Then people will think that you're weak. And then you will think that you're going to make the person cry, which is normal. This person that, yes, I call a loved one, I mean, it's so funny that she didn't have a clue of even what to say to me. But It's more like, oh, Sall, so this is how you grieve. And I was like, okay. I took a deep breath and just relaxed, and I said in myself that I forgive you. Moving forward, let's talk about connection. You gotta be connected with something and someone at a deeper level. And with that, it requires vulnerability. You got to be willing to allow yourself to be vulnerable, just like I'm doing now. I'm talking about my story. I'm sitting down here talking about grief, being vulnerable, how badly it affected me, how I cried all the pillows. But sometimes, as coaches, everybody thinks that coaches are okay, they're strong, they don't have worries, nothing gets to them, but they are, and we are just as human as you are. We go through pains, we have our own stories, we have our own mystery, and we do sometimes like to share it with you. And finally, going back to why I decided to stick on to the bootcamp, your first 100K bootcamp, despite the odds and despite my situation. Joining the bootcamp has really helped me stay focused and accountability to myself, to my journey, and has shifted my mindset. If not all, but at least it has tried 80% to take me off from my lows, which was during my grieving, to just about getting to my highs. And how that was done was connecting with other coaches, was getting ourselves to change our old habits, getting into new habits. We have accountability buddies that keep track of our progression, that make sure they have our best interest at heart. And every day we are having a success mindset and changing our habits. So this was an opportunity that I never wanted to miss out, because I am investing in my future. So in this bootcamp, your first 100K, it's where I belong. This was my story. It's Sall, your original coach for Europe and Asia for Vino Nutrition. Until I come your way again. Thank you.